Today we celebrate tomorrow's anniversary of the appearance of Lord Ramachandra. Someone asked me in a message, if Krishna appeared 5,000 years ago and Ramachandra appeared before that, how long ago did Ramachandra appear? Well, this is close to 1,000,000 years or more ago, in the Dwapara Yuga. So today we are going to do an abbreviated, it's not abbreviated, but it's shortened Ramayana for you. But if you can get a copy of the Ramayana, please do. It is a wonderful book filled with all kinds of amazing stories about Vasista and Viswamitra, Ramachandra, King Dasarath, Bharat, and so many. And each one has their own story in the book. It's really quite nice. So, the Transcendental Pastimes of the Supreme Lord Ramachandra. Being prayed for by the demigods, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Absolute Truth Himself, directly appeared upon the earth with His expansion and the expansion of His expansion, whose holy names were Ramachandra, Lakshman, Bharat, and Shatrughna. These celebrated incarnations thus appeared as the sons of Dasarath, great devotee and king of Kosala, to his 3 queens. The eldest son of Maharaj Dasarath was Ram, the son of Queen Kausalya. Bharat was born of Queen Kaikeyi, and the twins Lakshman and Shatrughna were the sons of Queen Sumitra. Under their guidance and training of their Gurudev Vasista, these 4 handsome princes grew up to be strong, full of wisdom, devoted to Dharma, and expert in the arts of statesmanship, kingly ritual, diplomacy, and warfare. They were united in love for the people of Kosala, for their family, and for each other. Upon an invitation, Lord Ramachandra and his younger brother Lakshman went with the mystic sage Vishwamitra Muni to his ashram, and there they experimented with many rakshasas. They exterminated many rakshasas, or man-eating demons. These fiendish creatures were terrorizing the Brahmins, those priestly people who were making sacrifices and keeping things together. And they were polluting their sacrificial arenas, making it impossible to perform their daily worship and sacrifice, or jaga. Traveling with Vishwamitra, they visited the land of Mithila. After impressing the king by breaking a huge bow, the bow of Shiva, known as Haridanu, which belonged to Lord Shiva, Lord Ram was given the hand of his daughter Sita. You may have seen pictures of that. This bow was so gigantic that it took like 100 strong men to lift the bow and bring it into the arena. And apparently many people had tried and failed to even lift the bow, what to speak of loading the bow. And this was the challenge, that whoever could load the bow, to put an arrow in it, load it up, could have the hand of Sita Devi. And these 100 humongous guys lifting the bow brought it into the arena. Ramachandra lifted it up easily with his left hand, strung the bow. I don't know if you know anything about bows, but you have to bend the bow to a certain degree and then string it to put the string on it. And then he took it and he brought it back and 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 back until boom! The bow broke. This is a bow that people couldn't even lift, what to speak of string. And the bow broke, and so Sita was his. Sita Devi was endowed, she has a wonderful birth story. I wish I could tell it all to you, but in any case, she was endowed with transcendental qualities of having a flawless form, flawless behavior. She was at a beautiful age and had a wonderful nature. Indeed, she is the very goddess of fortune herself, Sri Lakshmi, the eternal consort of Lord Vishnu, who constantly rests upon the chest of the Lord. While returning to Ayodhya from Mithila, Lord Ram met Bhagavan Parasuram, another incarnation of Krishna, who had slain an entire generation of Kshatriyas, over many generations actually of Kshatriyas. And Ram defeated him in a contest. When Parasuram came before them in the clearing in the forest, he challenged Ram. He said, "Look, I'm here to kill people like you. So, let's fight it out. Let's see which of us is stronger." And so Ram defeated Parasuram, and Parasuram said, "Okay, all right, okay. I know you're who you say you are. I guess I'll just leave." And so he felt his duty had been done, and he had killed enough Kshatriyas, and he went on his way. Carrying out the orders of his aging father, King Dasarath, who was bound by a promise to one of his 3 wives, Queen Kaikeyi. The king had said, "If you can do this for me, I will give you anything you want. I will give you one wish, any wish you want, anything." And because of her maidservant, I want to say Suprakarna, but I don't think that was her name. But this maidservant, is like, why is Ram the Yuvaraj? Why is he next in line? Your son Bharat should be next in line. You shouldn't allow this to happen. It is unfair, it is unjust. You should approach the king and tell him to give you that favor he promised you, and banish Ram from the kingdom forever. And somehow or other she was swayed by the argument of this maidservant, and she went to her husband and said, I want my son to be crowned Yuvaraj, and that Ramchandra should be banished from the kingdom for a period of I don't remember whether it was 7 years or 12 years or something. In any case, it was a long banishment. And being innocent and rather foolish, Queen Kaikeyi became convinced that Ram was simply going to kill his brothers when he became king, to keep them from ever taking over his position. And therefore he was the enemy. And after listening to the evil counsel of her maidservant Manthara, that's her name, Manthara, the wicked hunchback maidservant even persuaded her that Rama would murder her son if he got the chance. Bharat, however, being loyal to his elder brother Ram, was appalled at his mother's actions, and he went to Ram's ashram in the Chitrakuta hill and asked for Ram's wooden shoes. When Ram left the kingdom of Ayodhya, the people all gathered, and they followed him out of the kingdom. The whole city, the whole country followed him out of the kingdom and just kept following him and following him and following him. Finally, he had to turn around and tell them all to go back. He said, "What is the point of being banished if I bring the kingdom with me? So go back to your homes." And then he set up an ashram some miles away in the forest, and Bharat, who had been gone, he had been in another kingdom at the time of Ram's banishment. When he found out, he wanted to go and redeem himself in his own mind and redeem the kingdom. He wanted to tell Ram to please come back. All is forgiven, please come back. And so he went, along with his retinue of soldiers and everything. He went to Ram's ashram and begged for Ram to please return. Ram said, no, this was the order of my father, and this was what I am to do. This is my duty. And so Bharat simply became desolate, and finally, in a last-ditch effort to have something of Ram, he asked for Ram's wooden shoes. And he did not take over Ram's place on the throne as king. Rather, he placed Ram's shoes on the royal throne and ruled only as a regent or caretaker. However, as the caretaker king of Kosala, Bharat did not reside in this opulent palace, but rather he chose to live even as he said, if my brother has to live in a shack, then that's where I will live. Even as his elder brother had lived, dressed only in tree bark and eating simple food, he lived in an ashram in Nandigram, just outside the city of Ayodhya. An ashram is a place for the cultivation of spirituality, for celibate students, householders, retirees, and those in the renounced order. Bharat said that without Rama, Ayodhya and all in the universe was nothing but a handful of dirt to him, and that his mother, Queen Kaikeyi, had made a terrible mistake that he must somehow rectify. And so, if my beloved brother Ram fails to return to Ayodhya after finishing his 14 years, that's how long it was, his 14-year term of banishment in the forest, Bharat said his life will have been useless, and he resolved to leave the planet by creating a mystic fire that would consume him. Now comes the story of Surpana. They're in this forest. After Bharat visited Ram, he moved farther away because he didn't want Bharat coming to see him all the time, or any of the people of Ayodhya. I didn't think that was fair. So he and Sita and Lakshman moved farther away into the forest. And there they met all kinds of interesting people as well as sages. They also met rakshasas and demons and all kinds of interesting people and entities. In their own ashram, in the forest of Panchavati, there was a lusty demoness whose name was Suparnaka. And she, as soon as she saw the form of Ramchandra, she's like, oh man, I got to have some of that. And she was overcome with her lust upon seeing the beauty of Lord Ram. After a foolish effort that both Ram and Lakshman laughed about, trying to seduce him, the Rakshasi attempted to attack Sita and eat her. She was very ugly, horrible looking, like something out of a werewolf movie or something. But she could change her appearance, and she appeared before Ram and Lakshman very, very beautiful. Ram and Lakshman, finding her more of an annoyance than a threat, Lord Ram let her live. But he cut off her nose and her ears as an object lesson. Suparnaka was the sister of the great demon king Ravana. The Sanskrit word Ravan means one who causes crying to others, one who causes people to cry. Furious and humiliated, Suparnaka tried to attack Rama in the Janastan forest with the help of her powerful brothers. She had a brother who could appear in different ways, and he could appear and disappear. Very, very powerful soldiers as well. And their army of demons. However, in a single day, Ram and his brother Lakshman killed 14,000 Rakshasa friends of Suparnaka, including her demon brothers Kara, Trishira, and Dushan. Suparnaka then flew to Lanka, Ravan's kingdom capital. When the demon king, who had 10 heads, heard from his sister about the unrivaled beauty of Sita, his mind became agitated by lusty desires. I am the one who deserves to enjoy the most beautiful woman. And he decided that she was worthy only of him. And he decided to kidnap her. To distract Lord Rama from his ashram, he sent a demon named Marich, his uncle. But Marich, knowing Ram was an incarnation of Krishna, and knowing his great strength and wisdom, refused to cooperate. Finally, Ravan said, well, okay, you don't cooperate, I will kill you. So, or you can cooperate and maybe live. But Marich considered himself dead either way. He figured that he would die trying to help his nephew, or he would die at the hands of his nephew. So he decided to go ahead. He'd rather be killed by Rama, he thought, than by Ravan. Being a powerful demon, Marich assumed the form of a golden, bejeweled doe, like a young deer that still had spots, at Ravan's command. As Ravan had surmised, Sita Devi was very attracted to the deer, and Lord Rama went to bring the deer to please Sita. Now there's a story there too. They are out hunting, and they see this deer magically appearing and then going into the forest and seeming to disappear. And this deer looked very beautiful. Had, instead of spots on its back, it seemed like jewels on its back. And it was just so beautiful. Sita's like, oh, that deer, so beautiful. Oh, Ram, please, Ram, please, capture him for me, please. And Ram is like suspicious already, and he's like, no, you don't. There's no point in capturing that creature. And Sita then got angry and said, you just don't want to make me happy, do you? You don't want to make me happy. You don't want to. I'm telling you what's going to make me happy, and you don't care. You don't care. Whew. Wow. Ramachandra said, okay, I'll go capture the deer. And he told Lakshman, under no circumstance was he to leave Sita alone. Stay here, watch over Sita. Realizing very soon that this golden deer was only a demon in disguise, the Lord, after the deer led the Lord away quite a distance, the Lord killed the creature. But as the creature was dying, he said, Sita Ram, Sita Ram. Imitating Ram's voice. And he cried out the names of Lakshman and Sita to lure them. Hearing the distant cry, Sita believed it was Ram in distress. And she said, Lakshman, you need to go and help him. But Lakshman said, no, I can't go and help. He told me to stay here under no circumstance. You just don't care, do you? You want a king. You want the kingdom. You want me. You want me, don't you? That's what this is all about. You want to stay here and have me to yourself while Ram is out there dying. Didn't you hear? Well, Lakshman was like, wow. Obviously, Sita was consumed with worry, and she became extremely angry, as I just said, with Lakshman, hurling hurtful words at the blameless brother, even accusing him of wanting Rama dead. Finally, pierced by her knife-like words, Lakshman decided he had to go and pacify Sita. Otherwise, he would never hear the end of it. She was now left all by herself. However, before leaving, Lakshman created a mystical line known as Lakshman Rekha. It was a force field that surrounded the hut. It's like he took his staff and went, like if this, you can't see it. If this was the hut, then he drew a line around the hut. And the idea being that this force field would keep anyone out. While inside this line, he told Sita that she would be safe. Ravan took advantage of the Lord's absence. Anybody who came to that line and tried to step over it would be killed immediately. He disguised himself as an old Brahmin begging for food. Sita Devi gave alms but did not step outside of the Rekha line, stating that this action by Sita was simply an insult. Oh, you cannot give me your offering? Why, that's insulting. How dare you treat a poor Brahmin like me in such a horrible way? You are not being very nice or kindly. You have no heart. Ravan slyly demanded that she come out and offer with her offerings. Well, Sita Devi was very kind-hearted and she was persuaded. She stepped outside the Rekha line, and immediately the evil Ravan assumed his original form with 10 heads and abducted her and called for his chariot, which was a flying chariot. I can't remember the name of the chariot offhand. It might be stated here later. But in any case, he took Sita, threw her into the chariot, and took off. Sita Devi appeared helpless in the 10 arms of the demon king. However, while she battled with Ravan, she cleverly cast off her ornaments and her shawl so that Ram could follow their trail. During this time, Jatayu, who was a great vulture who had befriended Sita and Rama, saw what was going on, and he attacked Ravan as he flew towards Sri Lanka in his great Pushpaka. That's it. That's the name of the flying chariot, Pushpaka craft. The valiant bird gave all his efforts to rescue Sita, but alas, Ravan defeated him. Ravan cut off the wings of the aged Jatayu, who fell to the ground, fatally injured. Upon returning to the ashram and realizing that Sita had disappeared, Lord Ramchandra, accompanied by Lakshman, searched for her throughout the forest. In the course of their exploration, they found Jatayu lying on the ground. Jatayu was actually a vulture and friend of their father, King Dasarath. The dying Jatayu told the princely brothers that Sita had been kidnapped by Ravan and headed south. Jatayu then died, and Prince Ram, like a dutiful son, performed the funeral ceremony for a departed father, for Jatayu. At Rishyamukh mountain, Ramchandra and Lakshman established a friendly relationship with the monkey prince Sugriva, who had asked for the Lord's help. Fearing that Sugriva would usurp his power, Sugriva's elder brother, Bali, the barbaric monkey leader of the Kishinda, had unjustly accused Sugriva of betrayal and banished him from the monkey kingdom. And adding to the insult, by force, he took custody of Sugriva's wife. Lord Ramchandra killed Bali in a very stealthy manner. It's another wonderful story, but you have to read the book. But before expiring, Bali asked Ram why he killed him in this way and why he did not seek an alliance with him instead of Sugriva. The Lord told Bali that such was his karma for his many injustices to so many others and for the taking of another's wife by force. So he got his answer. Bali then asked his brother Sugriva's forgiveness and asked the Lord to take care of Bali's son, Anga. Sugriva became the new emperor for the Vanara or monkey kingdom, and Anga, Sugriva's adopted son, became the prince and Yuvaraj, or next in line. The monkeys handed over to Rama the shawl and the ornaments that Sita had intentionally dropped while being kidnapped by Ravan. And arranging for the deliverance of Sita, they went to the shore at Pandya. This was Lord Ramachandra's odyssey from his kingdom's capital, Ayodhya, to Ravan's capital. All of these things happened about 2 million years ago. At Pandya, after organizing the military strength of the monkeys and going with them to the shore of the sea, the Lord awaited the arrival of Varuna, the god of the ocean. But when Varuna did not come, Lord Ram, who is the master of Varuna, became very angry and decided that he would dry up the ocean. Well, Samudra, or Varuna, came to his senses and came to the Lord in great haste and surrendered at his feet, wanting to help him in any and every way. Varuna offered his cooperation and offered to assist the Lord in constructing a bridge over the ocean to Ravan's kingdom, Lanka, where the Lord would kill the great demon and be reunited with Sita Devi, thus spreading the Lord's transcendental name. The Lord then attempted to bridge the ocean. Nila, the monkey son of Vishwakarma, the architect of the demigods, started the construction of the bridge. All the great monkeys and bears threw rocks, logs, vegetation, huge boulders, and even peaks of mountains into the ocean to build the bridge. All creatures, great and small, like squirrels and spiders, beetles and other small animals, helped in the bridge's construction by kicking dust, dirt, tiny grains of sand into the ocean. When Hanuman criticized them, the Lord chastised Hanuman, telling him that all their service to the Lord is acceptable. You serve me in the way you can, they serve me in the way that they can. As long as it is done to your ability with love and devotion, and without pride or arrogance. The Lord is equal to all, and all are equal to him, big and small. At Rama's behest, Hanuman used his mystic power to grow to great size and jump clear across the water to Sri Lanka before the bridge was finished, and find and reassure Sita and gauge Ravana's strength and weaknesses. Sneaking into Lanka as a spy, about the size of an ordinary monkey, he met Sita and consoled her by telling her that Ram was coming to her rescue. Ram also gave her a ring, I believe it was. Yeah, he gave her a ring because Sita, seeing Hanuman and being surrounded by demonic creatures, didn't believe that. She thought it was just some trick being played by Ravan. She didn't believe that Hanuman was actually Rama's representative. And so, having kind of sensed this in the beginning, Ram had given Hanuman his ring that was from their wedding. And Sita handed Hanuman a jewel that she had gotten at her wedding to confirm to Rama that they had indeed met. Hanuman allowed himself then to be captured in the garden of the king. She was tied up, or she's pictured as being tied up in this garden of King Ravan. She might have had a little hut or something like that. But in any case, Hanuman was brought before Ravan and assured him personally of his impending doom. And then he escaped. He again, this is a story of size. He somehow or other, he cut his tail, and so the guards there bandaged his tail with a bunch of cloth bandages, which, after he had seen and talked to Ravan, he dipped them into a candle with the wax and the flame, and lit his tail on fire, and then he grew to a giant size and began going all over the city, starting the entire city on fire. With the help of Vibhishan, who was Ravana's brother, who did not agree with Ravan in many, many ways, and who rejected Ravan and became devoted to Lord Ram, they attacked the capital of Lanka, which by now was in flames. The Lord, along with Lakshman and the mighty force of the monkeys, the bears, and others, headed by Sugriva, and all the great monkey warriors like Angad, Jambavan, Nila, Gandhamad, Panas, and Hanuman crossed the bridge and marched through Lanka. It's interesting, I don't know, if you Google Lord Ramachandra's bridge, you will actually find that it's still there. Much of it is still there between Sri Lanka and the peninsula point of India. And even scientists agree that it was man-made. Lord Ramachandra sent Angad, Sugriva's nephew, the son of Vali, to Ravana to settle the matter with him in a diplomatic way and to free Sita and avoid the war. Basically, he said, okay, you give us Sita, we'll leave, everybody's happy. But Ravan ordered Angad's death, forcing him to escape himself and report back to Sri Ram. Having given Ravan a chance to save himself, the Lord of Lords, the controller of time, and the husband of Sita, Lord Ramachandra, decided to attack. Lord Ramachandra sat on the effulgent chariot brought by Matali, the chariot driver of King Indra, sovereign of the heavenly planets. The soldiers of Lord Ram, recruited in the jungle, being all monkeys and bears and the like, didn't have the proper equipment for which to fight the soldiers of Ravana. Ravan's soldiers were the best trained and equipped fighting men on the planet, with modern warfare tactics, weapons, whereas the monkeys could only throw stones and mountain peaks and trees. It was only Lord Rama and Lakshman who actually shot any arrows. Eventually, the forces of Ramachandra killed all the Rakshasa soldiers, including all of Ravana's brothers who were loyal to him, including Kumbhakarna and his son Indrajit, who was killed by Lakshman. Again, amazing stories if you read the book. Kumbhakarna was like as big as a 6 or 8 story building. I mean, he was just gigantic. And there was a story that had to do with his birth as to why he became, so gigantic. He was cursed by someone or something. And anyway, as he grew older, his appetite grew as big as him. And he would eat anything and everything, and he would destroy towns and villages and eat all the people and all the animals and everything he could find. Finally, Ravana tricked him into drinking some special potion that he had his wizard, put together, and that put Kumbhakarna to sleep. And so when Kumbhakarna fell asleep, they took him, it took thousands of Rakshasas, but they took him to this cave where he was laying in a bed in the cave, a huge, gigantic bed, and there he stayed, sleeping out of everybody's way, not eating anybody. And so then Ravan, out of desperation, decides that he will waken Kumbhakarna to defeat Rama. And it just, again, there's a wonderful story about him waking up and grabbing handfuls of Rakshasas and throwing them in his mouth. And it's just an amazing story. He comes out of the cave, and after a long battle, Rama defeats him, kills him. And the same is true of Indrajit. Indrajit also had a very wonderful story of his birth, and he was a great warrior, and he had control of things like lightning and stuff like that, and he was just very, very amazing. And he was given a boon that he could not be killed by, well, at any rate, he couldn't be killed, supposedly he couldn't be killed by Rama, and so Lakshman killed him. Anyway, after many exchanges of harsh words with Ravan, "You're a rat, you're terrible, you're awful," aiming at the demon's heart, Ram finally released an arrow. Like a lightning bolt piercing the demon's heart, it killed Ravan. As the great demon king vomits blood from his 10 mouths, he fell from his Pushpaka Vimana, or chariot. It's interesting because everybody shot Ravan in the heart. Everybody was looking to shoot him in the heart, but it turns out that his heart was someplace else entirely. It was like where his stomach is or something like that. And so they were all shooting in the wrong place. So Ram heard from Ravana's brother, Bibhishan, that, this is where you have to shoot him. And so he did, and that's how Ravan died. The queen Mandodari, the wife of Ravan, lamented for her fallen husband. Vibhishan, the pious brother of Ravan, and the devotee of the Lord Ramchandra received approval from the Lord and performed the prescribed shraddha, or funeral ceremonies, for his family members to save them from the paths to hell. The Lord then gave Vibhishan the right to rule Lanka and granted him a long duration of life. Thereafter, the Lord found Sita sitting in a small cottage beneath the tree named Simsapa, in a forest of Ashok trees. And he carried her in the Pushpaka, which he now owned, the airplane made of flowers, which Ravan stole from Kuvera. That's how he got it in the first place, the treasurer of the demigods. The 14 years of Rama's exile in the forest were now over. And Ram, Sita, Lakshman, along with Sugriva, Angad, Hanuman, Jambavan, and Vibhishan, riding in Kuvera's Vimana, or the Pushpaka, returned in victory to Ayodhya. There Ram was received by his brothers Bharat and Shatrughna. And when the Lord entered Ayodhya, Bharat brought his wooden shoes. Vibhishan and Sugriva held a whisk and fan, and Hanuman carried an umbrella. Shatrughna carried the Lord's bow and 2 quivers, and Sita Devi carried a water pot containing water from all the holy rivers. Angad carried a sword, and Jambavan a shield. After Lord Ram, accompanied by his retinue, met with all of his relatives, the great sage Gurudev Vasistha enthroned Lord Ramchandra as the king of the Kosala kingdom. And thus ends the story of Ramachandra, his birth and his return in victory to Ayodhya with Sita. So, thank you very much. Haribol. Are there any questions or anything? Did you like the story? Yeah? I do too. I love that story. It's a wonderful, it's hard for us to understand that this is not fiction. This is history. This is what went on 2 million years ago in this area of India. Any questions?
Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Prestaya, Bhutale, Srimate Sita, Svarupananda, Paramahamsa, Vitinamine.
Namah Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Prestaya, Bhutale, Srimate Sita, Svarupananda, Paramahamsa, Vitinamine.
Namo Sita, Svarupananda, Paramahamsa, Namine. Gora Karuna, Svarupaya, Radha Krishna, Prestaya.
Namo Sita, Svarupananda,
Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Paramahamsa, Namine. Gora Karuna, Svarupaya, Radha Krishna, Prestaya.
Namah Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Prestaya, Bhutale, Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami iti namine.
Namah Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Prestaya, Bhutale, Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami iti namine.
Namaste Sarasvati Deva Gauravani Vecharine Nirvisesha Sunyavani Paschatya Vishatarine.
Namaste Sarasvati Deva Gauravani Vecharine Nirvisesha Sunyavani Paschatya Vishatarine.
Vanya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Sankirtan
Shri Ramachandra,
Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Krishna, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare Rama,
Hare Rama,
Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Jaya Jaya Sitaram, Jaya Jaya Sitaram, Jaya Jaya Sitaram, Jaya Jaya Sitaram.
Jaya Jaya Sitaram,
Haribol.
Jaya Jaya Sitaram,
Sitaram.
Jaya Jaya Sitaram, Jaya Jaya Sitaram.
Jaya Jaya Lord Ramachandra, Jaya Jaya Sitaram, Jaya Jaya Lord Ramachandra, Jaya Jaya Sitaram.
Jaya Jaya Lord Ramachandra, Jaya Jaya Lord Ramachandra, Jaya Jaya Sitaram, Jaya Jaya Sitaram.
Jaya Jaya Lord Ramachandra, Jaya Jaya Sitaram, Jaya Jaya Lord Ramachandra, Jaya Jaya Sitaram.
Jaya Jaya Lord Ramachandra, Jaya Jaya Sitaram, Jaya Jaya Lord Ramachandra, Jaya Jaya Sitaram.
Jaya Sitaram, Jaya Jaya Sitaram, Jaya Jaya Sitaram, Jaya Jaya Sitaram.
Jaya Jaya
Sitaram.
Jaya Jaya
Haribol.
Sitaram, Jaya Jaya Sitaram, Jaya Jaya Sitaram.
Sitaram, Sitaram, Jaya Jaya Sitaram, 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 Jaya Jaya Sitaram.
Sitaram,
Sitaram,
Jaya Jaya Sitaram, 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 Jaya Jaya Sitaram.
Sitaram, Sitaram, Jaya Jaya Sitaram, 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 Jaya Jaya Sitaram.
Sitaram, Sitaram, Jaya Jaya Sitaram, 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 Jaya Jaya Sitaram.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Krishna, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Haribol.
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare
Krishna,
Krishna, Krishna, Hare
Haribol.
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare
Krishna,
Krishna, Krishna, Hare
Haribol.
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Sitaram, Sitaram, Jaya Jaya Sitaram, 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 Jaya Jaya Sitaram. Sitaram, Jaya Jaya Sitaram, 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 Jaya Jaya Sitaram.
Sitaram, Sitaram, Jaya Jaya Sitaram, 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 Jaya Jaya Sitaram.
Sitaram, Sitaram, Jaya Jaya Sitaram, 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 Jaya Jaya Sitaram,
Sitaram, Sitaram, Jaya Jaya Sitaram, 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 Jaya Jaya Sitaram.
Gurudev, Gurudev, Jaya Shila Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Siddha Swarupananda, Paramahamsa 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 Prabhupada.
Haribol!
Haribol, namaste. Namaste. Jaya Jaya Sitaram. Haribol.
Haribol! Jaya Jaya Lord Ramachandra, Jaya Jaya Gurudev.